In the 15 games that Zion has came back to the Pelicans, he has been nothing short of amazing, and this has led some people to speculate whether or not him or Ja Morant are going to win the Rookie of the Year. And the odds, it seems, have never been higher than before. The Grizzlies are currently 30-31, good enough for the 8th seed in the Western Conference, but right behind them at the 10th seed is the New Orleans Pelicans at 26-34. And it's honestly really possible for the Pelicans to take that 8th seed. There are still 22 games left in the season, and they're only 3.5 games back. They currently boast the weakest schedule for the rest of the season, while the Grizzlies have the 3rd toughest schedule for the rest of the season. So it begs the question, is Ja or Zion going to take the Rookie of the Year, and will the playoff race really affect voters? Let's find out. To start the comparison between the two players off, I'd like to look at their strengths and weaknesses before we get into the numbers. Let's start off with Ja, whose strengths include shot creating, playmaking, and finishing and mid-range shooting. In regards to creating his own shot, Ja is one of the best in the league, as he's only been assisted on 32% of his total shots, and he has a variety of moves to help him out, but mainly his athleticism is what helps him a lot. He has good change of speed, and when he gets into that 4th gear, he can honestly just blow by his defender and get to the basket, where he's finishing at a 60.6% rate. And once he gets to the basket, he has a variety of finishes. He can finish over you, he could finish with the Euro step, a reverse layup, an inside hand scoop. He has the whole package when it comes to finishing. And his mid-range shooting is decent as well. He's shooting 48.9% from there, so when he's driving extremely hard to the basket, he can stop on a dime and hit you with that pull-up jumper. His playmaking has been extremely good as well, as he's averaging 7 assists over the course of the season. This is good enough for 13th in the league and 1st overall with rookies. And it's not that Ja is just a good playmaker, he's also a very willing one as well. He can hit you on the pick and roll whether you're the roll or the pop guy. He can hit you on the weak side corner when you're open once he's driving to the rim and sucks the defense in. He just has eyes in the back of his head, and honestly expect this to improve over the course of his career. And while Ja is a good playmaker, he does struggle with taking care of the ball. He averages 3.2 turnovers per game, which is good enough for 14th in the league. Another not so much weakness, but a part of his game that he needs to improve. He's good, but he's not great at this part of his game, is that he needs to work on his 3-point shooting. He's currently averaging 35.5% from there, which is an average clip, but we want to see him go above average because he's more than capable of. He needs to be more comfortable with his 3-point shot. He only takes 2.3 per game. In the future, we want to see him taking about 5 to 6 per game, while making about 2 to maybe 3 a game. This would really help his game because defenses would have to play extremely tight on him, knowing that there's the threat of him making that 3-pointer. Then he can use his athleticism and shift to the 4th gear and just blow by his defender and either drop it off to a teammate or finish at the rack. And another weakness, well, not so much weakness again, but one thing that he needs to work on is his frame. He's a decent on-ball defender now, and he has a good motor when it comes to on-ball defense, but if he works on that frame, he won't be able to get bully-balled by bigger point guards such as Ben Simmons, Russell Westbrook, and he also needs to work on his off-ball defense because he gets caught ball watching a lot, which leads to backdoors and easy passing lanes for opponents to expose. So he has to stay engaged and keep that motor going even when it's off-ball defense. Moving on to Zion, I think we all know that he's an elite finisher. He's currently shooting 68% at the rim on 178 attempts on the season. He's currently rebounding at 6.8 per game, and while it may seem low, you have to remember he's playing with Derek Favors, who rarely leaves the paint. But what's even more impressive to me is his offensive rebounding. He's averaging 3.1 per game, and we know we've seen those highlights where he misses a layup or he misses a dunk, but he's able to get his rebound back right away, even sometimes rip it away from grown NBA players and just put the ball back. It's pretty impressive. His defense has also been really good for the Pelicans in terms of versatility. He's able to switch between 4 to 5 positions on the court depending on the matchup, and that really helps the Pelicans defense. Moving on to his weaknesses, while he is averaging 2.1 assists per game, he's averaging 2.8 turnovers, giving him a negative assist to turnover ratio, or one that is less than 1. In terms of his shooting, I think we all know coming out of college and coming out of high school that he would definitely need to work on his jumper, and that remains the same at this point in the season. He's barely taking any jump shots. I mean, more than 90% of his shots come at the rim, so we need to see him get that jump shot, develop that jumper to a respectable rate, one where he's comfortable taking 3-pointers later on in his career, so that defenses will have to respect him and not sag off him on the perimeter. And one last thing that he needs to work on, it's his free throw shooting. Again with the shooting. I know, but he averages 8.5 attempts per game, which is really good. It's extremely good, and he gets there at an extremely high rate, but he's only shooting 65% from there. We'd like to see it go up to 70, maybe 75% for his career, and that would really help him in the long run. Moving on to the traditional stats, Ja is averaging 17.7 points, 3.4 rebounds, 7 assists, and shooting 49.2% from the field and 77.5% from the line. He's also contributing 0.9 steals and 0.2 blocks. He's also shooting a very efficient 49.2% from the field. Moving on to Zion, he's averaging 24.1 points per game, 6.8 rebounds and 2.1 assists, while contributing 0.7 steals and 0.3 blocks. He's shooting 59.3% from the field and 64.8% from the free throw line. Both players boast very high usage rates for their team, with Ja at 26.1% and Zion at 31.2%. Their PERs are both above average, with Ja at 18.1 and Zion at an amazing 25.5. So we can all see from the stats that both are extremely good scorers and both are extremely effective scorers at their position. Zion is the better rebounder, but Ja is the better passer. In the future, Ja could guard positions 1 to 3 and be an elite defender in the league, while Zion could be a very versatile defender and also elite defender, being able to switch between the 1 through 5. So who is going to win Rookie of the Year and who is the better player? Well, look, you can argue who has the bigger impact, because Memphis wouldn't be in the 8th seed without Ja, and New Orleans would be nowhere near the playoff race without Zion since his return. And look, both teams are better with them on the court, clearly, but the big difference is honestly just the games played. Ja has played 54 games this season, while Zion has played just 15. And Zion can't win playing less than half the season. We've seen it with Embiid and Brogdon. Brogdon averaged 10 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, while Embiid averaged about 21 points and 8 rebounds. But who won the Rookie of the Year? Brogdon, because he was able to stay healthy throughout the whole season. So honestly, the Rookie of the Year is going to go to Ja, but the more impactful player on his team, in my opinion, is going to be Zion. If you're here, thank you very much for sticking until the end of the video. It means a lot to me. Comment down below who you think is going to win the Rookie of the Year between these two, and who you think is going to have a better career when it's all said and done. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And with all that being said, have a good day or night wherever you are.